Moving on to number 3.
All right.
Number 3. This is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch from 1982.
This is one of the ones that I've been waiting for, because if there was ever going to be like a difference of opinion, this one could be one of the big ones.
Before I even get into the plot, let me just quickly say this. John Carpenter did not want to make Halloween 2. He wanted to make an anthology series. Yeah. Halloween 3 is his attempt at an anthology film. Now, he didn't direct it, but he did write it. He wrote it, and he was heavily involved in it. He also did the score once again produced by Deborah Hill. He was very much involved with the production of 3. 3 was his vision for the true sequel to Halloween. He wanted an anthology series, okay? This is, without a doubt, the black sheep of the franchise. Just like Friday the 13th has part 5, the no Jason Friday the 13th entry. Right. Nightmare on Elm Street has, in my opinion, 2 black sheeps, but I'll say one, has part 2 that just wants nothing to do with the rest of the franchise, even though Freddy's in it. He doesn't act like Freddy. Halloween 3 is the Halloween film without Michael Myers.
Way outside of the lines. Yeah.
It just is its own film. It has nothing to do with the other stories. It's its own standalone story. So here's what you want to know. Do I like this or do I hate this? I love this.
Oh, I do not.
Oh, I love it.
Do not.
I love this.
No.
This is my number 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have this at 11.
Oh!
11.
All the way at the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, so you hate this idea.
I cannot stand it. No. So I do not hate this idea. All right. Do you want to do your synopsis first?
Let me get into the synopsis.
And then
I thought you were going to agree with me.
No.
So now I'm really curious. I thought in my head when you went, okay, Halloween 1 is 4. I went, okay, 2 and 3 are going to be one of those 3. I don't know what the other one's going to be. Maybe 4. I was going into my head. Now 11, all bets are off. Folks, all fucking bets are off. This is
exactly what I thought was going to happen.
I can't believe you have it this low. Yeah. This is shocking. Okay. So, Halloween 3, completely new story, not directly tied to anything that came before it. We start off with a random man being chased by emotionless goons. He is carrying in his hand a pumpkin Halloween mask, and he's being pursued by these like almost automaton acting human beings following him that act exactly like the characters, the antagonists in Assault on Precinct 13. If you've ever seen that Carpenter film, they act the exact same way. It's the same kind of movement. We then randomly cut to a gas station worker, and on the news we see a little report about one of the stones from the famous Stonehenge, what would you call it? Monument is missing. Huh, that's odd. He then, the man who was being pursued then runs into the gas station worker and starts spewing some weird warnings saying, they're coming. He tries to give him some prophetic warning before passing out. We then cut to the hospital where we're introduced. Sorry, we don't cut to the hospital just yet. We then cut to where we're introduced to our main character, Dr. Chalice, played by one Tom Adkins, who is in a sense, a Carpenter collaborator. He was in, he's the main guy in The Fog. Mm-hmm. So, is he the main guy in The Fog? Who am I thinking of?
I don't know. You love this guy. I'm pretty big a
sure
fan
Tom
of,
Atkins is the main guy in The Fog. I think he is. I should know that.
Check this out. I'm
going to look that up real quick. Bear with me, folks. I'm pretty sure he's the main guy in The Fog. Otherwise, I just pulled that out of my ass. I know. I'm pretty sure it's Tom Atkins in The Fog. I know he's in Night of the Creeps. Yeah. He's in The Fog. Yeah, that's right. He's the main guy in The Fog. That's what I thought. We're introduced to him. He and his family. He has 2 children, and he has an ex-wife who he shares custody with. He's arguing with his ex-wife, who's kind of like the stereotypical, bitchy ex-wife, makes his life hell. Played by Nancy Keys, Annie from the original Halloween. Nice little recasting. I like that. She doesn't do anything, but I thought that was neat. Dr. Chalice is then called into the hospital where he finds out about the runaway man, giving these like warnings about someone coming. He very briefly speaks to the man, and the man gives these prophetic warnings like, they're coming to kill us. They're going to get us all. Before one of the goons, the Terminators, shows up at the hospital, brutally kills the man by literally rearranging his face. He just mangles his face. The goon then casually walks out of the hospital, sits in his car, and blows himself up. What the fuck is happening? We then get the dead man who's running away. The dead man's daughter shows up because now she found out her father has been killed. She shows up and she meets with Dan, was Dr. Dan Chalice. So she meets with Dr. Chalice. They meet at a bar, and Dr. Chalice gets involved because he's basically trying to figure out what the fuck he just witnessed, and it kind of like fucked him up a bit, and he doesn't like the fact that someone was just murdered in his hospital. He kind of needs to know a little bit more of the story. While they're in the bar, on the television is Halloween.
The original.
Love it. So in this universe, Halloween exists as a film.
Right.
So again, this is its own thing. It is not in the Halloween universe whatsoever. It's in its own universe. Halloween exists just as a pop culture film. So that's great. That was a nice little touch. What then follows is Dan and Ellie begin to bond a little bit, and they begin a detective adventure, which is absolutely hilarious because what they do is like, it's revealed that the man who died, he owned like a variety store, and he sold specific Halloween masks. These Halloween masks. He sold Halloween masks from Shamrock Novelties. So through looking at, she like looks through like the records of her dad took like notes of like all his activities, and it seems the last thing that anyone saw him doing was picking up an order from the Shamrock Novelties factory. So Dan and Ellie decide that they got to travel to St. Miria. That's the town, St. Miria, to the Silver Shamrock Novelties facility to try to uncover the mystery and try to find out what is actually happening. The funniest thing about this is Dan calls his ex-wife because he's supposed to be like watching his kids, and he just immediately throws them to the side, grabs a 6-pack of beer, and just jumps in the car with this young girl. He's just like, fuck it, fuck my family shit. I'm going with this hot young piece of ass. We're going on a road trip. Love that. Absolute scumbag. And then they arrive in St. Mira, where the entire town is something's wrong.
Just a little off.
Something's a little off. The town residents, some of them love, so the entire town seems to be like centered around the Silver Shamrock Novelties factory.
Right. They all work there. That's the reason why the town exists, pretty much.
It's like a small kind of nothing town, and the factory kind of controls all of the town to the point where such a great little details here. All of the stores are named like silver. It's like Shamrock something, right. Shamrock Banking, Shamrock Grocery. So like literally the town or the Silver Shamrock Company owns this entire town.
Right.
Some of the residents love the company. Other ones do not. We then get introduced to the head of... I still can't believe you don't love this movie. It's blowing my mind.
I'm just waiting, buddy.
Okay.
I'm just waiting.
We then get introduced to the head of Silver Shamrock Novelties, Mr. Cochran, who's played by Dan O'Hurley, who you may know as the old man, the boss of OCP from RoboCop.
Good old RoboCop reference, yep.
Fantastic casting. And we also learned that Cochrane, this is part of the reason a lot of the town doesn't like him, is actually most of the town does not work for Silver Shamrock. Cochrane brought in external employees and didn't hire the locals. Right. He hired some of the locals work for some little things, but generally brought in his own workforce, which is the goon squad you've seen. The guys that show no emotion and act like automaton robots. We then get a tour of the facility where they have one section of the factory off limits. A section known as final processing, which we don't know what that means just yet. We then later find out that final processing, in fact, means that they are attaching a microchip tag, it's like round tag, to each one of the masks. You don't know exactly what it does until later on. They later reveal what it does. And as the film progresses, what's his fucking name?
Chalice.
Dr. Chalice and the daughter end up basically on the hit list of the Silver Shamrock company. They're trying to figure out what's going on with Silver Shamrock. They know there's something off with this. They just don't quite know what. They end up getting captured by the Silver Shamrock employees. Cochrane reveals it's Mr. Cochrane reveals that he is in fact, like an antagonist. He reveals himself as the villain. He starts off as like the nice guy, and he's like just happy to make, a product that people love, and he loves Halloween and he loves pranks and that sort of thing. And he starts off as Mr. Nice Guy, and then he later turns into a villain character to an almost cartoonish level. And it turns out that he is responsible for the missing Stonehenge rock.
Right.
From the news report in the beginning. And he has some convoluted plan where the microchips have samples of the Stonehenge rock, and through a signal they're going to broadcast over the airwaves, the tags activate, which when activated basically opens some sort of portal in your head, and bugs and snakes and things come out, and it kills you. And his master plan is to distribute these Halloween masks all over the country and have as many children as possible in the country wearing these masks. And on Halloween night, everyone is to tune in for a big giveaway, which is when he's going to throw the switch, activate all the masks, and murder, I guess, millions of children. That's the basic plot. You want to get it? Did you like anything?
Oh, this movie sucked.
Really?
Oh, man,
it's fun.
Oh, it was
I'm
not.
surprised. It's fun. It's a fun 80s movie.
Oh.
I'm shocked you don't like it just as a goofy, dumb, fun 80s movie.
I mean, I like that they killed kids. I mean, that was
the kids weren't safe in this movie, that's for sure. Okay, can I get into someone I liked?
Go for it.
Let me gush a little bit and feel free to interject. Yep. I love the premise. Firstly, I love the anthology sequel idea. I like it. People have definitely, this was always the black sheep. It has now become popular again, similar to how Elm Street 2 and Friday 5. People now like this movie, especially because you can do so much worse. Not according to you, but you can do a lot worse in this series for Halloween. So now it's become more beloved. I like that it has nothing to do with the Michael Myers story, because to me that's done.
Yep.
To me, I don't need anything more from that. Great idea. Just do another one. It's unfortunate because nobody else could get on board with it, and then we're going to get to that, but they never try this again. This is the one and last time they tried to do an anthology sequel in the Halloween timeline, which is unfortunate. I know you are not saddened by this, but I
am.
It's a shame what could have been.
Yeah, I think I love the idea that they tried to do the anthology thing. I regret that we didn't get to see more of that. Right? I think, though, what saddens me the most about this is that this is the entry that they led with to try to build their anthology. Because, man, if you had just made a good movie, maybe it would have worked. But I think after watching this, people are like, oh, this is brutal. No, let's go back to Michael Myers, right? Tried and true. Go back to that. Had the movie not been terrible, maybe it would have helped. But this is the entry that you get. And this is ultimately what immediately destroyed the anthology idea.
See, I disagree. I don't think it definitely destroyed the anthology idea, but I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's a fun 80s movie. I'm surprised that you didn't have a good time. So, okay, let's get into the premise.
Yep.
I love the idea. Okay, so the villain of this is so good. Dan O'Hurley, Mr. Cochran, is just such a great villain. He's just chewing the scenery in this.
He really does.
But he's so good. He's so menacing. Yep. I love that it starts off and he's like charming and friendly, and he's just like, oh, here's my number one best salesman. We get like the early in the movie, they introduce like this schlubby salesman. It's like him and his family, and they're almost like a cousin Eddie. They're like traveling in this RV, and they're stopping at the factory for a restock. And he's actually one of the best salesmen in the country for the Silver Shamrock products. Right. And Cochran is just so like charming in that scene where he's like, our number one salesman. Thank you for coming down to the factory. We're really excited about some new products. We'd love to give you a tour of the facility, and we're going to give you the opportunity to test our new merchandise firsthand, right? And then slowly we learn that something's not right with Cochran, and he's like, there's something more sinister below the surface. And when he switches, he is just so fucking evil and menacing, and it's so believable. It's just so, he's just such it's such a great villain. Fuck you. It's such a great villain. I love the fact that like the first thing he does is, so he takes Buddy Kepfer. That's the name of the RV salesman. Buddy Kepfer, the top seller of Silver Shamrock masks. His reward for being top seller, Cochran takes his family, puts them in a test lab room, and puts the mask on the kid, and then this is a test to see if the signal works. The kid then dies as insects and a snake come out of the fucking mask, and what a brutal death. And then the insects and like snakes then kill the mother and father in the room. What a cool shot. That's such a cool shot of like the fucking kid, like the head deflating is like, it's the great shot. Great idea. I love his like robot henchman, and they set this up earlier in the film. There's a scene where we have this room and it's all automated toys. It's all these like automated, like simple, like tin toys and things. And Cochran has some line about how he really appreciates like automation and automatic like type robots. And throughout the film, we keep getting shots of these faceless goons, and they do unnatural things. And later on, it gets revealed because the doctor, Dr. Chalice, he takes a sample from the exploded car where the goon blew himself up at the beginning of the film. He takes a sample to the lab. It's revealed there's no human remains in the sample. All there is machinery parts.
Right.
And the reveal is that in fact they are robots. They are automatons. They're androids. They're meant to look like humans, but they're not humans. They're robots. So Cochran has this entire robot army working for him. And I thought that was such a fun, clever thing.
Yeah, I thought that by the time we learned of that reveal, I did not care enough at that point. I'm like, oh, whatever. Just like the end. By the time that twist came around, I'm like, I don't care about this either.
Nothing no, cooked you
this
here.
Is so bad.
I love the design and style of this movie. No, I'm serious. Okay, so we've got the Silver Shamrock advertisement, and they play it 10 million times in this movie.
I know how many times they play it.
Oh, you took a note?
Oh, yes. Because I'm just going to direct this to the audience here. If you have not seen this movie, don't listen to what Justin is saying.
No, right? Don't say that.
This is an annoying, not only is it just a bad movie, it's very annoying, right? Like if I put in my notes, this movie should come with
a warning
for anyone that has epilepsy, because you are going to have an episode like watching this. The flashing lights, it's bad.
So there's an advertisement for the entire film. We get this advertisement, the iconic happy Halloween, 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 and it's the masks dancing, and they keep playing this ad throughout the film. I'll agree with you. They go way overboard with how many times they play it.
14 times.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween.
Believe this commercial never stops.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
It's almost time, kids. The clock is ticking. Be in front of your TV sets for the Horror-thon. And remember the big giveaway at 9. Don't miss it. And don't forget to wear your masks.
2 more days to
Come on.
What's the matter? Don't you have any Halloween spirit?
That's way too much. It should have been like
14 times.
5. It should have been like 5. But I do think it is a clever motif that keeps coming back up, and it directly ties into the film's ending because they're pumping it on the TV. They're pumping it on the radio. It's everywhere. They even like blare it throughout like the town, and even at one point, like even the town people are like humming it. Like you hear a character humming the fucking thing because it's just it's meant to be a brain worm that doesn't get out of your head, or sorry, an earworm. It's meant to be an earworm so that it's in your brain. Hey kids, tune in on Halloween night. We need you all to tune in. So it makes sense why they would keep blaring it, but I do think they play it too much. Yeah, I agree. That being said, the design of the masks, you gotta agree, are fucking cool as shit. The witch, the skull, and the pumpkin.
I mean,
they're very iconic.
They're Halloween archetypes, but they're pretty boring.
I disagree. I think they are great, classy, just nice, clean designs. Exactly what you said. They're archetypes of Halloween, but I think they work really well.
Yeah.
I think, and I'll say to my defense, these masks sell like crazy. Like 3 has become beloved now, where people love the iconography of those 3 Silver Shamrock masks.
Right.
I actually think one of my big things that I think was a missed opportunity at one point in the film, we see in the background, because Silver Shamrock, the Silver Shamrock Factory Company, like this is the ones that make, it's a company that made Halloween products. They didn't just come out of nowhere. They've been operating for years. This is just now they have this master plan, right? Which the master plan is very convoluted and it's kind of stupid.
Stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't really make any sense. But they've been operating for years, and they actually have a bunch of other masks, and you see them in the background. And I think a missed opportunity with merchandise so far. No one has made any other masks other than the main 3 you see in the movie. Would some company please produce some of these other masks? No, because I know horror fans.
They would love them.
We will buy anything. And if you're like, hey, how about some of the other Silver Shamrocks masks? People would shit their fucking pants. I just, one of those things that nobody ever brings up, the fact that like in the background, there's all these other masks. They just never, none of the merchandise ever uses them, you know? What else can I say here? Do you want to dunk on it more? Go ahead.
I found myself throughout the movie asking myself, what is happening here and why is it happening? And eventually I'm just like, I don't care. I just don't care why it's happening. Obviously I couldn't compare this movie to any of the other Halloween movies, right? There's no Michael Myers. It doesn't really fit. So what I did was I tried to compare it to other anthology movies, your Creep shows, things like Tales from the Dark Side. And it does not work. Right, I feel like this movie could have been made into, like, trimmed down to 20 minutes, just like a small vignette. Kids wearing masks, the masks kill you. All right, cool. It did not need to be as long as it was. It was just so boring. The whole movie, the premise sucked. The premise was stupid. Like, it was just terrible. We always talk about
Earn your runtime.
Well, earn your runtime. was the movie made in earnest? Did they know? I feel like these filmmakers thought they were making like a legitimate, this movie is going to be great. Nope. You were not in on the joke, and you should have been, because this movie was a joke.
And I think they legitimately made a good film. We're gonna disagree on this one. Yeah, I'll go back to a thing I didn't like, because you talked about, you're like, oh, in Halloween 2, like, why did they have the Sam Hain thing?
Yep.
So as it's pronounced, Samhain, apparently.
Right.
So Samhain is it. From what I've read, Samhain is like the actual ancient origin ritual of Halloween. That there's like this one ritualistic Samhain event, and it's supposed to be, it's like, I don't know what mythology it ties into, some like druid mythology or some nonsense. I have no idea, right? Obviously some fictional shit. But in some mythologies, there's a Samhain ritual, and the Samhain ritual is the end of the harvest. It's supposed to be like when the warm weather turns to the cold weather, so it's like right before the winter hibernation. And the ritual is that in order to spare in order for there to be good fortune for the majority, there has to be bad fortune for the minority. And there's different forms of the ritual, but basically one family is going to have to be sacrificed so that all the other families can have prosperity. And that's supposed to be Cochrane's main objective, but it doesn't quite make sense, because he's like, we have to go back to the old times, the old ways. See, they later use this, the Cult of the Thorn later uses this motivation. But the way they explain it makes way more sense compared to the way Cochrane explains it, because Cochrane's basically just like, it's time we return to the old ways when the hills ran red with blood. And it's like, so you just want to murder people.
The Festival of Samhain. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago, and the hills ran red with the blood of animals and children. Sacrifices are part of our world, our craft. Witchcraft. To us, it was a way of controlling our environment. It's not so different now. It's time again.
So let's kill all the children?
Right,
Like,
it's like, I didn't really buy, it's like, some people have theorized that the whole thing is supposed to be because early on he's like, I love pranks. And it's like, he's playing the ultimate prank. And I'm like, what? I don't know that that's true. What a good prank, eh? A prank. The ending is fucking awesome. Love that ending. It ends with Chalice, Dr. Chalice, Dan Chalice, desperately trying to get them to stop the broadcast, and the villain wins. He is unsuccessful. He only managed to stop the broadcast on a few channels, and it ends with that iconic "Stop! Turn it off! Turn it off!" Meanwhile, we get the which means the signal's going out, and this ends with a mass murder of children wearing Halloween masks.
I believe the line he actually says is, he is yelling, "Stop it!
Stop it!"
And I know this because I made a note. I'm like, yes, please stop it. Stop this shit right
at
now.
this exact moment. You agreed with it.
What did you think about Ellie being an android at the end?
I thought it was a fun little twist.
I'm like, I don't care.
To me, it's like, whatever. So, well, why don't we talk about, okay, here, you're going to agree with me on this. Let's talk about Ellie for a second. I don't even remember her name. So Ellie and Dr. Chalice, they team up early in the movie. They then fuck. And
do you know what that age difference is?
It's like 20 years.
24 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is the cringiest part of the movie, and it's where it's like, oh, Tom Adkins, why?
It just doesn't make sense.
He does the same thing in The Fog, though.
Yeah,
he hooks up with Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jamie Lee Curtis is like 18 in The Fog, and he's like 30-something. It's the same fucking thing. I guess it's like one of the things he's known for is hooking up with women that are way too young for him. So Chalice and Ellie get close, and they end up having a romantic relationship, and this culminates when they go to they share a motel room, and there's like this cringy, there's like, they set up sexual tension between them, but it feels so uncomfortable because you're just like, visually you're like, this is a young woman, this is a middle-aged man. Like, you know in your mind, you're like, there's at least 2 decades between the two of them. Like, it doesn't feel right. And it's not sexy, it's cringy.
And it was unnecessary.
Right.
Like,
He didn't need to, like.
they were both there for their own reasons.
Yeah.
Like, they could have just worked together, right? But no,
Nope,
they have to
fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we get the cringiest line in the whole movie where they're sharing a motel room, and Dr. Chalice is like, well, I can sleep out in my car, or I can sleep out on the floor. I don't mind, right? He's doing that whole shit. And Ellie's like, where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice?
If you'd feel more comfortable, I could sleep in the car. Be better on this floor anyway.
Where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice?
Then they immediately start making it and doing it, and then we get to see Tom Atkins suck on her titty, which is like,
The whole thing was just
I'm
very
like, I
uncomfortable.
don't need to see this like awkward sex scene. And then at one point he even says, wait, how old are you? Did you catch that? He actually asks her point blank after they've already fooled around and fucked. He's like, wait, how old are you? And she goes, I'm older than I look.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. That's totally fine then. Yeah, we're just way off on, like, we're not going to agree on this one. I'm actually surprised you didn't like it.
No.
'Cause it is to me, it's a fun, dumb 80s horror movie.
I didn't have fun watching it.
Yeah,
You know
it
what's
didn't click
funny?
with you. It didn't click with you.
You were saying that when the kids are watching TV and the original Halloween came on, all I could think of at that moment is I could be watching that instead, right? Instead of this. And that's early on, so I knew that I still had a lot of time.
That's what was up.
Yeah, I wanted
Just
to
no
like
one,
it.
I was going to say, it's got a lot of the beats of like a fun, dumb 80s movie. I'm just shocked nothing clicked with you. You like much dumber than this. You do. I just think you didn't click with the characters.
The plot was just stupid, and I hated the characters.
I like the idea of like an evil company that's distributing cursed Halloween masks on Halloween. That's fun. You want to talk about like, oh, the children are always safe. They ain't fucking safe in this movie.
No, not in this one.
No, in this movie, they kill children, multiple children.
And his the massive final processing sign over the room that you can't go to. It was just so on the nose. Like, oh, you can't go in there. Oh, that's no.
Okay, wait a minute. There's something you're definitely going to agree with me on. Soundtrack is amazing.
Of course, yeah.
John Carpenter's synth soundtrack in this is fucking awesome. Again, I think it's a great 80s horror film. Here, I'm going to play a few snippets of that soundtrack just real quick. There you go. You got to listen to a couple seconds of it. But like the soundtrack's great. It looks great.
Right.
Like visually.
I think this would have been better if it was just a 24-minute Tales from the Crypt episode.
I think it would have been too short. And I'm someone that usually agrees with that thought.
Like,
I don't know.
yeah.
We're not going to agree. We're not going to. That one surprises me.
Yep.
That one surprises me.
Couldn't stand it.
1 and 2 were pretty close on, but I'm putting it at 11. That means you put one of the Rob Zombie movies ahead of it. And that to me is criminal. And I don't know which one it is, but that is fucking criminal. Yep. That in my mind. I guess you could. That's a preview of where I think those Rob Zombie fucking movies are going.